Hey, what's up guys? I'm DJ Alex Brown and welcome to today's gig log. If you're new to my channel, my gig logs provide information for both prospective clients and the DJs who watch my YouTube channel. So some of the stuff that I discuss in this video may not apply to you, whether you're a DJ or client, but if you watch all the way through, sometimes I'll add little subtitles if there's something you might want to skip. In today's video, I'll be DJing for the wedding of Zahra and Nick here at the Glen Manor house in Portsmouth, Rhode Island. And this is a very beautiful venue, as you can see behind me here. We'll take a look inside and at the ceremony and cocktail hour and things like that in just a moment. But I do want to start with talking about what I'm providing here today and give a little bit of background on how this couple came to book me, because it is a little bit of an interesting story. So first of all, what I'm providing here today, I am obviously providing music and microphones for the ceremony, which will be taking place behind me here. And then just a little bit further behind me, I'll be providing music for the cocktail hour, which is taking place on the patio and a little bit around the patio. And then they'll have some parent dances in the ballroom and the introductions, which is just behind that cocktail area over my shoulder. Then they'll have their dinner in, I guess, the dinner room. I don't really know what to call that. And then they'll be back in the ballroom for dancing. So I do have a couple different sound systems going on today, and we'll take a look at those in just a moment. Now, to talk about how this couple came to book me, so the bride, Zahra, is actually related to a photographer who I've worked with a couple of times and recommends me to a lot of her couples. I'm actually her top recommendation. So I do work with her a couple of times a year. And so she recommended me. She's part of the wedding party tonight. She's not actually doing photography because she is part of the wedding, but she will be here tonight. I actually already saw her as I was setting up the ceremony. And Nick, the groom, is actually in the AV industry, so he and I share some passion about sound, and we'll discuss that as we get further, but he's very keen on having subs for the reception, so that is something that I was able to provide in this case. It's a little overkill, if I'm being completely honest, for this venue. I'm definitely gonna have to turn the subs down because there is a much larger sound system in there than is necessary for that ballroom, but you can never have enough sound. It's always a lot easier to turn it down than have to use more sound power than you actually have. So without further ado, let's start taking a look at some of the systems that I'm using today. We're gonna take a step over here and take a look at the ceremony system right now. So next to me here, we have my ceremony setup. This is actually half of my ceremony setup. If you are a consistent viewer of my YouTube channel, you may have noticed that I'm doing things a little bit differently for the wedding today. I am using a K12.2 from QSC. This is actually a colleague of mine's speaker. I'm borrowing it because I'm trying out different sets of speakers for ceremonies, because I just haven't been super pleased with the really large speakers that I'll show you in a minute that I'm using for cocktail hour. That I've had to use in the past. They're just too heavy, too bulky. I'm doing way too many weddings to be lugging them around. So I'm trying out different options to see what I like best. I'm really happy with the QSC K12 so far. So I'm thinking I'm probably gonna get a set of these to use for ceremonies and cocktail hour and stuff like that. If we come down the speaker here, you can see I have a Scrim King Scrim on here. I have a two-sided Scrim to help hide everything that I have going on down here. So here I have my QSC Touch Mix 16 mixer. Again, totally overkill, as I like to do for my ceremonies, but this allows me to have a lot of control over the audio for the microphones and actually EQing and dialing in all of the EQ settings for the mics so that I can avoid feedback as much as possible. The AV guys that are friends of the groom were actually commenting while I was setting up for the ceremony and tuning the mics, and they certainly had good things to say, so I definitely appreciate hearing that. But I do have 3 mics running today. As you can see, I've tucked 2 under the mixer here, and then I have 1 on the stack here. Now, from behind, this might look a little unprofessional, but obviously you can't see it at all from the front. I'm showing you a video from the front right now. You can't see any of this, so it's very well hidden. And this is actually neater than my system was in the past. And I've been very happy with how compact I can get this. There are 2 lavalier mics, which are clip-ons today, and then 1 handheld, which is on a stand right over there. And that is going to be for readings. They have a couple special things going on because this is a Iranian and American wedding. And we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later in the video. Now, I'm actually, as you can probably tell, not actually controlling the mixer from the mixer. basically using the mixer as a stage box here. And we're gonna take a quick walk over to this cocktail hour table that you can see over here with the QSC Touch Mix app. We'll have to do a little magic in post here. And as you can see, I did all my queuing from here, so I can actually stand in front of the speaker with the microphones, check for feedback, go through my graphic EQ on here, and dial in everything exactly as I need it to avoid feedback. That allows me to dial in the settings that I know I need to take out for these specific microphones and use presets and stuff like that, which makes my life easier and allows me to give the client a lot better experience for their ceremony. The other reason that I'm positioning the mics under that speaker now is because it puts them closer to the officiant, the bride, the groom, and the readings mic to make sure that they're as close as possible to the receivers. So you can also see here, I have my IMP2 DI or direct box on the table, which I'll be running music off of my phone for the ceremony with. Sometimes I use the laptop, sometimes I use the phone. It's not too important, but this just allows me to separate myself from the speaker, not be in the background of any photos ideally, and run everything from a nice comfortable location and keep it looking all very sleek. Obviously these microphones will not be on the table for the duration of the ceremony. So now let's head over and take a look at the cocktail hour. So here is my cocktail hour speaker. Now here's what I was mentioning earlier in the video. As you can probably tell, this is a 15-inch speaker, not a 12. I do a little bit regret purchasing these because they are so large. They're a little bit too big to be comfortable to move around and set up for weddings and such. And I am using a two-sided black Scrim King speaker stand scrim for this, just to hide the stand and the wires powering that. Now the cocktail hour setup is fairly simple. This speaker is mostly going to be providing sound for under this area where the bar is and the cocktail hour. Now we're going to take a walk into the ballroom just behind me to take a look at the reception setup. All right, hey everyone, I apologize. I'm gonna do a voiceover here because the audio clip for this was super echoey. Basically, we're in the ballroom here taking a look at the setup. The ceilings in this ballroom are very tall, which is very nice, but the ballroom itself is not super large. So because of this, it's actually okay to uplight this ballroom with only uplights and not do any dance floor lighting. Normally, I don't recommend that, but this is one of the venues that it is okay. Now here I'm pointing out the speakers I'm using. I'm using my Yorkville PS12Ps on top of my Mackie SWA 1801s, which I have since replaced with QSC KS118s. I was mentioning in the video that I would hope that the review would be up by the point that I publish this, and it is now up, so I'll leave a card up in the top corner to that. I am using my DDJ 1000 SRT for this wedding with the Pro X table topper facade in front of it, which is what you see on the table in front of me. This has black or white scrims. I'm obviously using the white ones today because it is a wedding. I might get some hate for this, but I'm personally someone who prefers the tabletop facade. I like to be able to have my wireless mic right on top of the table next to me, and a lot of the really essential stuff like my documents and stuff right next to me, whereas there's a couple other things on the market that are less able to do that. This setup is far more than is necessary for this room here. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, the groom did request that I bring subwoofers, which I was happy to oblige, but I did have to turn the system down a little bit because this was quite a bit for this room. And this is my ADJ Dots T-Par system. This is what I'm using to light the room up besides the uplights in around the room. Like I mentioned, this isn't totally necessary in this room, but it was something that was included on their package. So, you know, when I discussed it with the bride and groom, they wanted to stick with both the lighting options combined. So that's what we went with today. So there are actually technically two dinner rooms here. You can see this kind of dividing wall here, I hope, in the video. And as you can see all the way in that corner, there's a tripod with a white scrim on it. You can probably only see the little bit of black on top, so that the ceremony speaker will get moved over to there after the ceremony is complete, and that will be for dinner music. So that pretty much wraps up taking a look at all of our setups that we have here today. In just a moment, we'll be actually taking a look at the ceremony and some ceremony footage, some footage of cocktail hour and introductions and such. It will get quite busy during that time, so I'm going to try and get as much as I can. But unfortunately with gig logs, I do always obviously prioritize the customer experience over shooting a gig log and taking video. So
now, before I get on with introducing the wedding party, I need to make sure that everybody in this room is ready to cheer them on with the maximum energy that we can provide tonight. So, on the count of 3, I'm going to ask that everybody make as much noise as possible. I would like the people on the other side of the water over there to be able to hear you. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
okay, so we are through with the ceremony, with the cocktail hour, with the introductions and the speeches. Everything has gone well so far. There's really not a whole lot to talk about. Everything was pretty smooth. This schedule, because of the layout of this place, is a little bit different than a typical wedding schedule because all of the speeches and everything had to be done before they actually went into the dinner rooms. Now, would they have asked me, if I could provide a wireless mic in the dinner room? I could have, but I think just with the amount of guests they have tonight, that still really wouldn't have been smart anyway, so that's why they had everything in the ballroom. Everything has gone well so far. We are quite behind schedule. I think that's mostly because they really didn't plan enough time for speeches and such. And this is quite a large crowd for this venue, having everyone standing around the ballroom. I'm sure I probably have a video that I can cut over this year to show you that, but it was a little cramped. And there were a lot of speeches. There were like 6 speeches and then a thank you. But there actually wasn't a first dance. They didn't want to do a first dance for this wedding, so they were just introduced and then went right into speeches, starting with the father of the bride. So that's really it for now. I'm pretty much waiting on my vendor meal, and as soon as we get that and I have a chance to eat, we'll do parent dances, and then we'll be straight into dancing, and then we'll wrap up the night. So I completely forgot to mention in the last clip that there is an Iranian cake cutting tradition. I believe this is called the knife dance. This is one of the bride's family members with the knife. They kind of do this dance to this specific song and are basically taunting the groom with the knife. So it's kind of a thing where the groom is supposed to try and get the knife from her, as you can hopefully see here. And at the end, then she gives him the knife. Sometimes there's an exchange of money for this. They did go over this with me in advance to let me know how this would work. And this is one of the things I love about doing multicultural weddings.
Whatever it is, I keep on trying. 'Cause it ain't hard to forgive when you know what it's like. That's why I'm better with than without you. Oh, I'm on it, I want it, but why?
Alright, hey everyone, I know the DJs on YouTube absolutely hate it when I record videos at home like this, but if you're a client watching this video or a DJ, I would like to very much stress that I very much prioritize keeping the venue happy and making sure the venue staff can get home on time. So I normally shoot my outros at home like this because it allows the venue staff to not have to stay around. And clearly my cat wants to join me here, as she always does whenever I'm shooting a video. This venue specifically, the Glen Manor house, they do have a little bit more strict rules on end time. This specific wedding, I believe I had to be out an hour after. They're not one of the venues that threatens fines and stuff if you stay after that time. There are other venues like that in the state that I've been to before. Personally, I'm really not a fan of that method of trying to get people out within an hour. Also, Russell Moore and Catering and Events manages this venue, so they're the exclusive caterer there, and they also kind of do all of the banquet stuff, all the sales. There is staff from the town that actually also kind of help to manage it, but it's mostly the staff from Russell Moore that does all of that. And Russell Morin is one of my favorite caterers to work with. Their staff is so nice and so respectful. And even in places like Newport, where there's sometimes that kind of I'm better than you sort of vibe, they don't have that. They're just genuinely nice people. So I really appreciate that. I always enjoy working with them. And of course, I enjoyed working with their staff for this wedding as well. So to wrap things up with the dance floor for this wedding, when we had initially chatted about this wedding and up to actually DJing for the dancing, the intent was to play a mix of Iranian and American music. As I mentioned before in the video, I've done other multicultural weddings. It seems every time people estimate they want this amount of this music beforehand, and then in reality it's actually very different about what works for the crowd. In the case of this wedding, the couple came to me and said, hey, thank you, for playing the Iranian songs that we asked, but I think we want to stick just to the American music from this point forward, because there's really just not enough Iranian people here that really know those songs to want to dance to them. And I totally understood that, but I also kind of wanted to highlight the fact that, and this goes out to the DJs too, you are there to be the music for someone's wedding day. It's not your job to show up and perform unless that's what someone has specifically asked you to do. I think that's one of the key differentiations between a club DJ and a wedding DJ. Wedding DJ is there to show up and do what you want them to do. Now there's a limit of exclusion to that where it's unreasonable, in my opinion, to give a DJ a full list of songs and say, play it in this order. I've heard of people doing that. If people ask me to do that, at the time of booking and they want that level of control, I try and politely ask them to find another DJ. This couple was super happy with everything. They had a great time. Their guests had a great time. The music was very easy. They provided me kind of a list of some songs that they wanted to hear from different areas. So the Iranian music, some of the American music they wanted to hear, some of the things that they didn't want to hear, which I'm always open to. With the wedding running so far behind, we didn't have a ton of time for dancing, and some of the older guests especially had already left by that point. But as you can see from the dancing footage that I'm showing you here, the dance floor was pretty packed at the start. There was still a good amount of people there. Like I said, this was a fairly large wedding for this venue, so that room was pretty packed still, even with the couple of people that had left. And all in all, it was a great wedding. So if you are a 2024 or 2025 bride and you're looking for a wedding DJ and considering my services, please reach out and schedule a call. You can never be too early in booking these things, especially if you want to have me specifically. I am starting to offer other DJs under my name as well. That is also an option now. Obviously, any of the DJs that work for me, they're going to come bearing my name, so they're people that I trust. If you are a client or a DJ and enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It really helps support my channel and grow it and help more people find it. And also leave a like on the video, leave a comment if you enjoyed it. And go check out some of my other gig logs. I have a bunch of them up on my channel. I'm sure a thing will pop up over here in a second with some of my other videos. So make sure to stick around and check those out. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of this video. And that's going to be it for this one. Until next time, peace.